let me just say, this video is going to be long. So get your coffee, your tea, your Milo, your crackers, biscuit, whatever, because whole heap of thing me have to get off of my chest. Enough ranting in another video, and the sore throat backs me, so hold tight. So as you can see, I'm about to jump into the Financial Services Commission, which is the Jamaica's regulators, financial regulators, and I'm met with this HTTPS only mode alert. So basically, for a regulator in Jamaica, this doesn't look good internationally or nationally, meaning the site is not secure. So be very careful what you download or submit or transfer to and from this site, because third parties can see it and inject scripts and other stuff, algorithms into it. It's not safe basically. But yeah, anyway, let's just jump into it anyway. So bam, I'll continue. But for most people, they would leave. The site is loading, takes a while. I think it's still loading. Yeah, finally it's loaded. Now the other thing is the information is kind of narrow, so let me blow this up a bit. It's on 100% right now, but it's not very legible on your screen, so I'm going to blow it up to about 150, 70, 200. 200 is too much. Bring it down to 170. So okay, 170. Right, so we're here now. Now the first thing I want to look at is, I've been following this information. A lot of these people are catch up on already in terms of when they put the tender bid out for for an auditor. And as you can see, they went in as the Financial Service Commission of Jamaica, the regulators for the insurance, securities and private pensions industries, has committed funds to undertake the procurement of services for which this tender notice is issued. We now invite bids from eligible bidders for the provision of external auditing services. See full tender document below for download. Okay, fine, whatever. I'm not going to download any information here because the site is not secured. So that was the bid, and I'm just going to go through this quickly. So, excuse me if my voice sounds like I'm on fast forward mode. Enhanced oversight for stocks and securities. This was on the 12th of January. So the last one was the 8th, then the 12th. So you can see stuff is moving fairly quickly. And again, you can get this information on the website. I'm just doing a brief on this, but this is not what I'm going to focus on. There's something else I want to focus on more. Because the last video I stopped it very abruptly, if you remember. Okay, so this is sort of like a enhanced oversight for stocks and securities. Blah blah blah. I'm not going to go into any much details here. You can download down here if you want. Good luck with that. But at the end of the day, you can go to the website, as I say, and catch up on information. The other bit I want to point out is this is finally in January 16. They've finally appointed somebody as a special auditor to go in, and I think that's where Kenneth Tomlinson came into play. So you can see here that, as stated in its prior news release, January 12, 2023, SSL is allowed to continue its business operations but must seek the approval of the regulator for transactions involving the intake and payout of funds to clients. Now, I find that weird. I mean, if a company is in receivership for alleged fraud and financial crime of sorts, you should cease this company doing any trade. And seek to ring fence and protect existing customers' money and help them recover as much money as possible going forward. But to allow them to still trade, I don't know, unless you're allowing them to trade so that people who are otherwise invested can find a way to I don't know, pull their money out, sell their stocks or whatever else they're doing, because obviously SSL is into stocks and securities, so that means there's a various amounts of platforms that they're doing their trading on in terms of building their different clients' portfolios. So that's that situation. But for me, I don't think they should be trading per se. But hey, I'm not privy to all the information as to why they made that decision, and I'm just going to leave it to them to say, well, maybe they have a good reason why they're allowing them to continue trade even though they're under investigation and they've been taken over by Kenneth Tomlinson, the auditor that's put in charge of managing SSL going forwards. So then SSL appoint, I think we just jumped into that. So the Financial Service Commission assumes temporary management of, this is what I've just mentioned. So all of this we already know. And again, they've mentioned Mr. Kenneth Tomlinson of Business Recovery Services Limited as temporary manager. So, and that was effective as of January 17, 2023. So things are moving fairly quickly, not as fast as I would like it to see. Of course, you probably know by now I'm based in the UK, and over here things move within minutes. Things don't take days. Days in terms of financial is in terms of the financial sector is like years. For instance, if you're trading in stocks and you put an investment down, and whether you're doing derivatives or you're shorts or longing, and I won't go into all of that. But let's say you're trading in stocks and you're watching your information. Now, if you, for whatever reason, blink your eye, your stock could go up or down, and depending on what your situation is with your portfolio, you could lose anything from a few pennies to hundreds of thousands or even millions of pounds in a blink of an eye. So in the financial sector, when you're taking days to move on situations, especially like this with SSL, it's like years. I mean, a day is probably like flipping a year, really. You have to move, quick, like fast, breakneck speed. The other thing it says here is that Kingston, Jamaica, pursuant of its powers under Section 8B. I was looking for this Section 8B powers, and I can't find it on the website. I'm sure it's here somewhere. All these different acts and stuff that it mentions, I can't find the acts and stuff on SSL's on FSC's website. It just seems very convoluted and very difficult, and an effort to get to information. For me, that is not good, because when you have visitors coming to your site must be legible. In other words, I shouldn't have to blow this magnification up to zoom it up to 170%. That's ridiculous, just so I can read the stuff on the screen. That's number one. Number two, the site is not even secure, so I don't trust downloading any information from this server onto my machine, because it's not secured. And I'm sure the file is nothing wrong with it, but once it's in transit, downloading from one place to the other, because it's not an encrypted connection, any third party can see what you're downloading, what you're doing on the site. Like any third party right now can see what I'm doing, including how I'm moving my mouse on the screen, and they can say, oh, he's about to download this file, and they can inject malware and virus and God knows what else, ransomware, spyware, and hitch a ride on the back of the download of the PDF file. Okay. So I know what I'm talking about. So that's as much as I'll say there. So who is the regulator for the financial sector? Let me just not the regulator, sorry, the people that's in charge of the financial sector. I think that's what we'll jump into next, because these are the people that should be making sure this site is secure, it's easily to navigate, the information is up to date, and the information is in profusion. There's lots of information for us to get to and to consume, and this is all that you get as a running sort of thing. This should be jam-packed with information about what's going on with SSL, and what fines and what penalties they've issued out over the years or decades to various financial sectors who would have been a breach of law. Because the thing in the financial sector is most companies in the financial sector has fractured the law in one way or the other, from the biggest companies to the medium size to the small one-man band, with a limited company or sole trader. They've all fractured the law at one point or the other. So whether it's just a fine, but I'll get into that in a little bit more detail. What I want to jump over to now is I want to go into the about, because in the about FSC, I was curious about who the team people are. That's because I was so unpleasantly surprised by the way the site was designed and how I have to navigate information, that I said, who is in charge of running this ship? So I went into about, and I'm going to management team. So when I jump in the management team, all the different people comes up. Now these are managers, but these managers are not at senior level. They're managers. Well, the senior director securities, senior director pensions, senior director whatever. So I stand corrected there. But what I mean is, they're not the people running the ship, so to speak. They're not the big fish. They're the big fish, but not the biggest fish. Okay, let's put it that way. So then, that takes me up to board of commissioners. Now, these are the guys I'm interested in, because these guys will be the ones that have complete oversight collectively. So first you have the chairman. And when you click on his information, everything here you can see is blank. Now this brought me back to my previous video that I did. If you remember my previous video, I actually said that it's, in my opinion, I'm not sure, but from my recollection, it's illegal to have these type of organizations and institutions, and you are not displaying and declaring to the public who the chairman is, what his role is in the company, and obviously a picture of the person, for various obvious reasons that I've already sort of outlined in the previous video, so go and watch it. I'll attach it to the end of this file, so you can, sorry, the end of this file. I'll attach it to the end of this video, so when you see the credits going up, there'll be a link you can click on and go watch the previous video I uploaded. Now the thing is, SSL have a similar thing where, you remember when everybody was saying they tried to go into SSL, and when they click on SSL, the page for all the teams were disappeared, they deleted it, and that didn't bode well. And it's the same thing here. We get a 404 error. 404 error basically mean the page, the file has been deleted or it's been moved to a different location. So that's what's going on here, which means it tells me that they've either deleted the file or they've moved it to a different location until they update that. So if I go back, the chairman, and this is for all of them, the executive director, I had to go and do a lot of research and a lot of digging to realize that, okay, this could probably mean that, you know, the FSC is actually going through a restructure. They're shuffling, which is not the best time to do it, but it all ties in with SSL. And I'm like, okay, so SSL is, you know, been exposed for the corruption that they've involved in, and, you know, all the board members and senior managers over in that other video I mentioned, you know, their details are omitted. They're deleted that from their website. Now we come over here, excuse me, and if sometime you hear me taking a few gulps, I've got a bit of a hoarse throat and I'm struggling with it, so bear with me. So yes, as I was saying, you know, you look here and you can see that, you know, all this information here is the same sort of situation that's coming up again, where it's bringing back memories of, okay, SSL has done this and it doesn't look well, and now the Financial Services Commission of Jamaica is got a similar thing where they're hiding high level you know, team members of the organization, of the regulators. But again, I said, okay, they're going to a reshuffle, but to me they should have kept the information until, you know, they've changed over. So everything here is 404, so I'm not going to go through all of them. But when I did my digging, because remember, I'm not in Jamaica anymore. I haven't been in Jamaica for some years, to be honest. So I do know, like many Jamaicans do, that you know, John Robinson is the chairman, and he's resigned, and Richard Biles is the new chairman, effective as of 23rd of January 2023. So that was 23rd, that was Monday, that was last Monday gone. So all this is going on the heels of what's going on with SSL. This is not the right time to do that, but hey, a lot of bloggers are saying, oh, you know, this is because, you know, they've got some link to some, people are trying to stitch information where they shouldn't be, trying to connect the dots. You know, you can overthink things sometimes, and before you know it, you're casting a wide net or a wide web, you know, insinuating and implicating people who has nothing to do with whatever that's going on. Now, whether the chairman have something to do with SSL and why he resigned and blah blah blah, nobody knows. Don't speculate on it. All I'm saying is this doesn't look good for regulators' website. I think they should have kept the information current, and then only when situations where Richard Biles' news come in, he's effective since January, so that's last Monday. So basically, Richard Biles should be here, okay? And then it's the next person is executive director, which is this guy. So that will be Everton McFarlane. He's resigned. He's resigned effective the 20th of January 2023. So he's literally resigned last week Friday. So this is crazy. Today is Saturday, I'm doing this video, and this is what's going on. So this to me is really crazy. Who is next? Commissioner. And then you have 2, 4, 6 commissioners. So those 6 commissioners, the information is higher, but I know that it's Miss Janisha Davis, Christopher Reckford, and he's big on tech and cyber security. You know, I think he had some involvement with TVJ. I think he had some interview with TVJ where he was talking about, you know, cyber security and so on. Now, to me, you know, Mr. Christopher Reckford, this is for you particularly. This website needs to be fixed, mate. You know, it's not secured. You're the tech guy, so come on. You know, I've worked in the software engineering sector. I'm a qualified software engineer, even though I'm not working in the software engineering field anymore. I went over to the financial services, you know, where I used to write programs for the stock market. I won't say much about it more than that. But This is your forte, Mr. Reckford, and this site should have a secure protocol, and this site should have been far better designed than this. I'm not putting a bid out to tender, but I can do 1,000,000,000 times better than this. I've got my own website that I do in my spare time with little effort, and you can go over and see it, assaydigest.com. There you go. So if you can get your site looking like that or anything near like that, and you can see how easy that site's navigate and everything, so it's effortless. And with the technology we have these days, surely you know that you can do a far better job. So that's on you. I'm putting the buck there with you, Mr. Tech Guy, Mr. Christopher Reckford. Moving on to the other commissioners, Mr. Irwin Burton, Mr. Dennis Brown. Mr. Dennis Brown are you related to the singer, the legendary singer? I love Dennis Brown, amazing man, rest his soul. Mrs. Hilary Robertson and Miss Monica Brown. Now, none of these people's information are here, but like I've done before, the tech person in me, I'm going to go and dig to figure out who these guys are, what they look like, and what responsibilities they held within the Financial Service Commission, Jamaican regulators. So just hang on, let's just jump into that. Here we are on the website for the FSC. I did have to go and take a quick break and rush back. Now, as you can see, with a bit more delving, you see a full membership board, whereas before that information was deleted. So if you go on the website right now on Saturday, the 28th of January 2023, on the FSC's website, there's no information in regards to Board of Commissioners, but here you can see it. So John Robinson OD is the chairman, and as you know, he has resigned. When did he resign? Let me just bring this information up. He resigned, not sure when, but Richard Biles is the new chairman as of the 23rd of January 2023. I think I've mentioned that before. So let's just jump into Mr. Biles and situation. So all this should be here, and it's only the new members that's taken over should change, but you should leave this information up until I've actually clicked it, and it's still taking time to load. This FSC's website is extremely slow. Let me click that again. It's my goodness. This is crazy. I might have to pause and come again, because this is taking a very long time to load. But here you are. John Robinson CDJP is a retired central bank executive with 36 years of experience in the analysis and application of monetary policies, oversight of financial markets, surveillance of financial sector stability. Right, so 36 years of experience in the analysis and application of monetary policies, oversight of financial markets, surveillance of financial sector stability, and corporate strategy and administration. Now, your surveillance and your monitoring should have, highlighted the SSL situation. As senior deputy governor until September 2020, he served as deputy chairman of the Bank of Jamaica Board of Directors. Wow. And a trustee of the bank's pension fund. He was a member of all policymaking committees, management, supervisory, economic policy, financial stability committees, with portfolio responsibility for economic research and policy, banking and market operation, fine, and blah blah blah. Mr. Robinson holds a BA in a bachelor's in economics and market research from Concordia University in Montreal, Canada, and a master's degree of international affairs in economic policy management from Columbia University in New York. Okay, so well-educated man, well-connected as well, with great responsibilities on his shoulder. So he's gone now, and so when you go back here, the new person's picture, like on the current website, it should be Richard Biles' picture that's here. Now the other person, which is the who else? The executive director, which is Everton McFarlane. He's resigned effective the 20th of January 23, which I've mentioned before. So I'm not sure who's taking over from him, but his picture should still be there on the current 2023 website until his replacement officially takes office. All they should do is just change the wording to say, he's resigned and there's someone that's going to be in his stead at some point. So this is Mr. McFarlane, was appointed as executive director effective August 2nd, 2017. My throat is wreaking havoc with me, so please bear with me. So Mr. McFarlane leads the executive management team in executing the FSC's mandate to deliver a balanced, consistent and effective regulatory program that will inspire confidence in Jamaica financial system. So he's God. I can understand why they've gone, because after the debacle of the entire debacle of SSL, it's prudent for the people at the top to resign. It's the right thing to do. It's a responsible thing to do, especially if this has gone on for so long, over a decade, and for whatever reason they let the reins go wild without holding the reins and running a tight ship, so to speak. So I'm not sure what happened, what went wrong, but the guys at the head effectively are gone. I'm gonna just move the mouse out of the way. You can just pause and read to your leisure, and then press play when you're done. So I'm gonna jump back and let me pause while I gulp. So the next up is Miss Kenesha Davis. She's one of the commissioners, and if I just look at my little notes that I have on the other screen, is it Kenesha or Janisha? I have her down as Janisha Davis, but here is Kenesha Davis. Wow. Not sure which one it is, but on the official website she's listed as Kenesha Davis. But if I remember right, I saw a report on one of Jamaica's media, and they actually listed her as as Janisha Davis. So that might be a typo on that particular website. So they can correct that typo that they have, because I'm confident in thinking that the misspelling is on the other media, not here, because this is the FSC, so they would make such a gross mistake. But anyway, let's jump into Miss Davis.
A few moments later.
As you can see, it takes some time to load. It's nothing I can do about it. I've got fiber optic broadband and a very powerful machine, so I know it's nothing my end. So yeah, anyway, Miss Davis, Miss Kenesha K. Davis is an attorney at law who practiced mainly in the areas of civil and commercial litigations, personal injury, insurance litigation, conveyancing, recovery of possession, probate and family law. Okay, quite a broad specialities there, because a lot of people have been saying the same thing about whether Usain Bolt had the right sort of lawyer in his team, and if they're specialists in their field. Whenever you're hiring a lawyer, solicitor, whatever, make sure that lawyer, solicitor, attorney, whatever, is a specialist in the field that you're seeking help with. So if it's to do with criminality, get a criminal lawyer. If it's to do with immigration, get an immigration lawyer. If it's to do with business and corporate sector, get a business and corporate lawyer. Get people who are specialists in their field to work. Don't just grab any lawyer because he's got a law degree, and because he's got a law degree, he'll do or she'll do. That's not how it works. You wouldn't ask a GP, a general practitioner, to do a kidney surgery or to do a cosmetic surgery on you, would you? Not your typical family doctor can't do cosmetic surgery to enlarge your breasts and give you fake butts and all this type of stuff. You know what I mean? You're gonna go to a specialist, and that's my point. Okay, so the rest of her information is here. You can pause and read to your leisure. She went to St. Andrews High School for girls. Very good school. Bring me back memories. I used to go to Calabar High School in Jamaica. I always tell people it's the best high school in the world. I tell some people this, and I think they probably look at it like, I'm being boisterous and pompous. But no, it's just a thing. Those who live and grow up in Kingston, especially if you go to KC, Calabar, all these different schools, it's a thing that we say. It's just a banter. It's a banter thing. And if you're not in that kind of circle of, you wouldn't understand that it's a banter. And I think I might stop saying to people who I meet, Calabar is one of the best schools in Jamaica, because they take it differently. But when I meet someone who's from KC or one of those other schools around Kingston, they understand what that's all about. It's a banter thing. But a lot of people who are not in that era, not into that circle, don't understand it, and they just look at it like, who do you think you are? Talking about your school is the best school in Jamaica. You're so full of yourself. They don't understand what the banter is. So that's for those people who have ever said that in the past, and it sort of rubbed them the wrong way. You get to understand the sort of the nuances of things. Anyway, so that's her information. You can read to your leisure. I'll go back. And then the next person is Christopher Reckford. He's the guy that I actually addressed in terms of he's being big on tech and so on. So let's hopefully there's some information about him. Right, so here we are. Mr. Christopher Reckford, Commissioner. Mr. Reckford, Chief Executive Officer and Board Member of leading information technology support organization, Tech Limited. I'm not sure why has it got a small t and a capital T, Tech Limited. Another typo, unless that's a trademark name. Organization T Tech Limited. Could be, but it looks like a typo to me, but I know I could be wrong. I stand corrected if I'm wrong. Jamaica only pure play IT outsourcing and managed services provider. I'm not going to read much more, but you can see that this is the tech guy. And for me, if you're the tech guy and you're commissioner for this and the the FSC, then please, you should be the one saying, listen, let me offer my services to fix this site and make it, something proud for Jamaica to show to the world, so to speak. So that's his area, and I'm going to go into a bit more about other stuff later, not specifically in regards to him, but in regards to the Jamaica compensation scheme, and whether they do have such a scheme for people for victims. Let's just face it, for victims, some 39 victims that was listed by Jean Ann Panton, and as well as Usain. So only 40 victims we know about so far, but those are just what's been purported by one person. Jean Ann lists 39 of her victims, and of course Usain came forward and declared his situation. But reportedly there's some 9,000 clients attached to SSL, and I'm assuming all of them have heard the news by now. I'm probably scrambling to pull their money out. But at the end of the day, how many of them are victims that we haven't heard of yet? And all these victims, including Usain Bolt, would they get their money back? I'll go into further details. I have to try and focus and keep it tight. So that's his information here. So I'm just going to scroll, because you can't get this information presently from the website because they've deleted all this information. So I'm just going to scroll, and you can read at your leisure. So there's his information. You can read at your leisure and pause and read. Okay, so I'm going to go back. So the next person is Mr. Irwin Burton. He's also a commissioner. So Mr. Irwin Burton is currently the chairman of Hardware and Lumber Limited and was appointed to the FSC's Board of Commission. Why? What is his expertise? Hardware and lumber. Okay. In April 2016, Mr. Burton has had a long and distinguished career at Grace Kennedy Group of Companies. He has held various senior managerial positions there, including Chief Executive Officer of GK Foods, Deputy CEO of Grace Kennedy Limited, okay, and Senior Advisor to the CEO of Grace Kennedy. Mr. Burton also served on the board of several Grace Kennedy subsidiaries, including Grace Kennedy. So he's got a very varied and long record at Grace Kennedy, which is one of Jamaica's largest food suppliers or producers, whatever. Okay, and there's some more information about him here. I won't go into it anymore. The past, he was the chairman of the Sugar Company of Jamaica Holdings Limited. Okay, so I can see why he's there now. It's just that when this chairman of Hardware and Lumber hit me, but then chairman is just managerial position, executive position. So That's fine. So my apologies to Mr. Owen Burton. I didn't mean it in any disrespect. It's just the hardware number just hit me because I'm just glossing over this like a cursory read. So I'm just glossing over stuff very quickly. So yeah, that's him there. The rest of them, I'm not going to go into it. I'm just going to click and make you read. Who else? Dennis Brown. Let's jump into him. I don't think we did Dennis Brown. So Dennis Brown, Commissioner, there is his information, an extensive read. I am not going to read this essay. And I admit, this information is pertinent, is important, and is vital for the public. It looks like he used a passport, his passport picture, and just use it to, FSC is not really having a good image, is it? They only have a proper professional photographer that can get all the team together and get them a nice, get them a nice photo ops. It looks like he took a picture from his, photocopied a picture from his passport and he used it, but I could be wrong. It looks more like a mugshot than anything else. Mr. Brown, I don't know you, but I'm just having fun with it. It's all entertainment. It's entertainment. It's not personal. Okay, so So there's his information. I'll move the mouse out the way. Dennis is a retired partner of PricewaterhouseCoopers. Okay, yeah. He was an assurance partner and served into Elia as the risk management partner. So I won't read any more of his information. I've only just read the first 2 lines of the first paragraph. Yeah, and I won't read any more than that. So the rest of the information, I'm just going to scroll slowly. And you can read information to your ledger, because this is information that these guys should declare by law. And on the FSC's website at current, this information is unavailable, which is not good. Not all these people have resigned, by the way, so why their information completely been removed as well is beyond me. All they should do is and I'll show you in a minute. Let me just jump back because I'm just going to go through them. There's still 2 more to go. Anyway, Mrs. Hilary Ann Robinson. Mrs. Hilary Ann Robinson is a senior director of the Bank of Jamaica with over 30 years experience. Blah blah blah. I'm not going to read it. Hers is a little bit more succinct in terms of her background and what she's done, and obviously her role within the company, the regulator rather. And then you have finally Miss Monica Brown, and then we jump into her details, and that's her details here. Another essay, not knocking it that this information shouldn't be here, it should be here, because you need to know as much information about people as possible, especially when they have such high responsibilities in institutions or organizations such as the financial regulators. You can't just give us like a 2-paragraph and be done with it. We need to know exactly why you're there and why you're appointed to the role you're appointed to, and what history of experience you have that qualify you for the position you're in. And a 2-paragraph is not enough. I'm not saying write a book, but I think this is adequate. And I think Dennis Brown has another good adequate read. That's what we like to see, where we can delve into the nuts and bolts and say, okay, this person is bringing transferable experience from these different organizations, working in these different roles for these amount of years in this capacity, and therefore those expertise and skills is transferable, and she or he is bringing that now over into the Financial Services Commission or whatever other company or corporation or business you might work for. And that's what I like to see. So that's her there. So again, sorry, I'm moving the mouse up and down. My apologies. Let me just scroll quickly, or slowly rather, so you can read and and get as much information. And again, my apologies for the gulping and swallowing. I'm battling my hoarse throat, and whilst I'm speaking, sometimes it just takes me and there's nothing I can do. Sometimes I feel it coming and I'll pause for a second while I gulp and then resume recording, and then to you on your end it just seems smooth, but sometimes it just comes. There's nothing I can do. So we're back onto the Board of Commissions page on the FSC's website. What should happen here is, if you jump over to the other website, you should see Biles' photo here instead of Robinson, and this should still be here, but says he's no longer working in the capacity here, and someone is looking. Okay, his picture could be blank, and you put like a little silhouette of an image, and then when you click into that silhouette of an image, it will basically say this person is no longer working to the site, and they're looking for a suitable replacement. And I think most of these other people are still there, far as I understand it. I'll just scroll down slowly so you can have one last look of all the board of commissioners and the heads, which is these two guys here. And now that you've got that information, let me just jump into something else, because I need to make a comparison between this and the UK's version, which is a regulators, and do a quick comparison between the two, and I'll jump into that in a second. So here we are talking about the Financial Service Compensation Scheme, and I've been looking on the site, but I can't seem to see anything that vaguely resembles some sort of compensation scheme for people like Usain Bolt and the 39 other victims listed and named by Jean Ann Panton, or what sort of compensation they're going to have from SSL, or indeed the Financial Services Commission in Jamaica. And we have to be careful. I have to say Jamaica because apparently there's more than one financial services compensation. Sorry, I keep referring to the UK regulators. There's more than one financial services commission in the Caribbean. There's Virgin Islands, and I think there's a few other Caribbean islands, and then there's Jamaica. Okay, so this is why I always emphasize Financial Services Commission in Jamaica, because I don't want any people, remember now, doing these videos go out, people all over the world is watching him, and we don't want people to think in Virgin Island or somewhere else that we're criticizing and we're talking about their financial regulators. No, we're talking about Jamaican Financial Services Commission regulators. They're the ones that this is all about, to do with SSL anyway. So yeah, so now that we got that cleared up, the financial compensation scheme seems to be non-existent in Jamaica, which is kind of crazy. I think the Financial Services Commission hasn't even come into force. I think it came into force in about, when was it? 2000 something. I'll have to do a bit more digging. I'm not sure if it's 2001 or whenever, or whatever it's been. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on it. I'll probably just flash the date on the screen. But there is nothing to do with the compensations. In other words, when you invest money and you lose your money and the company goes bankrupt, what provisions are in place for the regulators to help recover some of the money? Because let's face it, obviously you can't, each investor will not recover 100% of their money. That's impossible, especially with SSL, where there is a team of how many? I think there's some 9,000 clients overall. Imagine if a lot of these people, out of that 9,000, let's say 1,500 of them fall victim of financial crime of one sort or the other at SSL. They all can't get their money back because depending on how much they invest. So let me just jump over to give you a example of what I'm talking about. So bam, we're over here now on the another section of the the regulators website, and as you can see, they quite clear tell you if the firm failed after 1st of January 2017, if you hold money with a UK authorized bank, building society or credit union that fails, we'll automatically compensate you up to 85,000 per eligible person per bank, building society or credit union, and up to 170,000 for joint accounts. Of course, this could be more. So we protect certain qualifying temporary high balances up to 1 million for 6 months from when the amount was first deposited. You don't need to do anything. The FSCS will compensate you automatically. Blah, blah, blah. So what I'm trying to say here is, this is the important thing right here. So as you can see, this is a financial services compensation scheme. Yeah. So the Financial Services Compensation Scheme have this in place for their customers. So what is the equivalent, and this is pounds, by the way, pound sterling. So what is the equivalent that over here when you go to the Financial Services Commission? What do they have in place to protect people who are saving money or investing money with these various institutions and financial organizations? And if I remember right, there was a gentleman who raised this very thing, and I might play his recording. I think his name is Professor Munroe. Professor Munroe. I forgot his name. I don't know why I forget his name, because this gentleman is, he's got quite an extensive, record in terms of his works. I think he's connected to the, is it NIA or something to that effect, where he basically is looking into, the integrity of the financial services and how they, how they're regulated, and just basically how business is run on a whole in Jamaica, as far as Jamaica is concerned. So but a lot of people are saying, what has he got to say about this situation? But he's raised the question of whether Jamaica have a financial compensation scheme for their customers, and from what I gather, from my deduction, that doesn't exist in Jamaica, which is crazy. Now, no wonder this sort of stuff is going awry, because, and again, I think this is the reason why we're where we are. So if I jump back over here and go into the Board of Commissioners, yes, this is why we're here where we are now. Of course, I've shown you who these people are, but presently 2023, right now, 20th of January, this is what the Financial Services Commission's website is in terms of the Board of Commissioners, which is embarrassing and it's ridiculous. So this wouldn't be a situation if there was a financial compensation scheme in place for in that regard, simply because if the government or the regulators realize now that they have to pay out money to victims of financial fraud and financial crime, the regulatory standard would be like over here, where they're fining people, they're naming and shaming people, because these monies, think about it, these monies, 29.75 million, 107 million, Santander, Big Bank, these monies will go towards compensating. I mean, this one alone for 29 million would fully reimburse Usain Bolt, his 12.7 million. That's the point I'm trying to make. Now, we have to admit that you will never get all your money, because, and it's not a good reason to put all your money in one nest egg, because even though they could use some of these fines to recover, for bad behavior and for breaking the law, the regulatory rules, they can use these fines to go towards running the regulatory service itself, paying staff and other outgoings and overheads that they have to pay, as well as paying out, reimbursing victims of financial fraud. So what that will do is, because they're doing that, they will make sure that because they have to pay this money out, they're fining people left, right and center. As soon as they sniff wrong or even look the wrong way, boom, they're getting slapped with a fine, prison sentence, named and shamed, barred from trading in the industry ever again, or being suspended for a limited amount of time. Just like with a driver's license, you can either lose your license, you can go to jail, or you can get a suspended license for a limited period, depending on what you've done wrong, whilst you were driving. So that's the situation here. But again, I was shocked that the situation with Usain, he actually, was able to put $12.7 million into with one firm. He might have several accounts with one firm, I don't know, but to put all that amount of money with one firm is ridiculous to me. I don't know who his advisors were, but I would have never advised that amount. We're talking about $12.75 million. This is not Jamaican money. This is US dollars. This is a lot of money. Even in pound sterling, that's a lot of money. You know what I mean? That's a lot of money. So the point I'm trying to make to you is, at the end of the day, it's crazy, because what we're looking at here is, let's say Usain Bolt, Jamaica had that financial services compensation scheme. A matter of fact, let's take it one step better. Let's say Usain Bolt had £12.75 million or $12.75 million worth of investing within a UK or British financial institution, securities, whatever investment company that is investing his money via these companies. Because I hear a lot of people making the mistake of saying these people were banking and putting money into these companies, and no, they're not banks for a start, and they're not investing in these companies. They're investing via these companies, via VAS, VAS, choose your pick. So what I'm saying is, they're investing money via these companies. So if I was an investor and I want to invest money in a particular stock or a particular asset, financial assets on the stock market or whatever else, the money, I'm not investing in SSL. I'm using SSL as a platform to invest in some other type of shares or stock or whatever. So I'm investing my money via SSL into what I want to invest in, as opposed to me doing it directly. They're acting on behalf of me, so to speak. So a lot of people make the misspeak of saying, oh, they've invested this amount of money into SSL. If you're investing money directly into SSL, that means you got shares in SSL. And we're not talking about people who have shares in SSL. We're talking about victims like the ones Gina have listed, who has invested their money via SSL. So in other words, they've turned their money over to SSL, trusting SSL team to take that money and invest it wisely to give them a return on their money. That's different. So we need to be clear on what we're saying, okay? Because if that's the case, then legally those people own part of that company if they invest money in that company, and they're not investing in the company, they're investing in whatever financial products they're investing in via the company. So that's the big difference. So we need to make that crystal clear. So okay, for me, Usain Bolt should not be investing this type of money. So even if he was investing 12.75 million over in the UK, this figure tells me straight away that he will only get up to £85,000 worth of his money. So the rest of his money would just gone up in smoke, and he would have to kiss that goodbye. So when I hear people saying he's given 10 days notice or else blah 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 blah, I'm not sure how that's going to work, because even in a proper regulatory role, you can only look to get back up to 85,000. So if you're putting £1 million in, so to me, it's not wise to put all your money, that amount of money, into one investment product, because if something goes wrong, the company goes bust, or the platform itself goes bust, or the company you've invested the money into goes bust. So let's say SSL takes Usain money and then invested it into some tech company, for instance, and then that tech company goes bust. Then that's not SSL's fault per se, because they didn't go bust and they invested based on certain information. So then the financial services, the compensation scheme will compensate him accordingly for up to 85,000. If he invested the money into whatever other way he invested it, then he'll protect it up to that money. So the point I'm trying to make is never put all this money into one entity. It's not a smart move, because there's no guarantee you're going to get your money back. And we're talking about a regulatory products here. Now, if it's unregulated, like mini bonds and so on, which is unregulated, they're higher risk. And if you invest in something and they promise you, high returns on your money over a very rapidly space of time or whatever, whether short-term, medium-term or long-term investments, you have to realize that if the interest rates are high, it's because the companies are higher risk. Higher risk means higher returns, which means there's higher risk, but there's a higher chance of you losing your money or not getting anything back. But you play with money that you can afford to lose. It's just like when you play the lottery. People don't go to the shops, the corner shops, I would assume, and play the lottery with their last $2 or their last $10 or their last £2 or whatever. You will actually go do the lottery with money you can afford to lose. So if you lose £2 or $10, that's nothing. That's cigarette money. That's beer money. Whatever you do. That's money you can afford, to go down the drain, so to speak. But if you're gonna bet money in the financial product that is high risk, you can't put substantial amount of money that you can't afford to lose. And of course, a billionaire can put more than what a millionaire can put, more than what someone on a, earning 50 or 40 grand a year can put, because obviously their circumstances financially is different. So, what might be big money to you is chicken feed to somebody else. And that's my point. So for that reason, even within a situation where, the regulators do not regulate that particular product, there is no protection. And even then, you have to be careful what you're investing in. Now, the stocks or the pension schemes or whatever, did that money go into, risky investments to promise higher returns on Usain and all the other 39 victims that was listed so far as money? Was that a situation? That's what the auditors are going to come in and they're going to have to uncover if that was the case or not. But that's a pertinent question to ask anyway. So this is what I mean when I say, Usain Bolt might not get all his money back, because even in a regulatory framework, he can only get back up to that amount, 85k. But if it's an unregulated product, then the chances of him getting anything at all is zero. But we'll watch this space and see how it pans out. He may get some money back. We don't know. I hope he does get a lot of him, not just Usain, but all the victims get as much money as they can back, because this is not just about Usain Bolt. I know he's the celebrity, and so he's brought attention to this, and if it wasn't for him, this would have been passed by and nobody knew. I mean, it's been going on for 10 years, for Christ's sake, and nobody knew anything. Well, the people that knew kept quiet, and those who didn't know were just naive victims in that respect, that didn't know. They were ignorant of the information. But because Usain Bolt is now brought this to the fore, because from what I understand, reportedly he went to pull some money, and when he went to pull the money, he realized that the money isn't there to pull, and then that's when this whole thing break. So because they're thinking, it's a long-term investment, he's not going to touch it for the next 20-30 years, whatever, so therefore we can play with this money and do what we want to do with it. And I'm assuming the hope was they play and gamble with the man's money, and then at the end of when it comes near to maturity, they're hoping that they would have earned enough profit out of it and put back his money, which in a way is wrong, because you can't do it without their authorization. They could probably argue that that's the understanding they have from Bolt, that we take this money, we play with it to grow your portfolio, to grow your investment, or to grow your pension fund, or whatever it is they were doing, and he's fully aware of that. But then what he might not be aware of is that if your money is in pensions of any kind, it's a situation where you're going to go for more secure type of investments, like government bonds, government papers and so on, where you can invest more safely. Doesn't mean anything can't go wrong, but the chances of it going wrong is far lower risk, because there's countries who has gone bankrupt. For instance, look at Zimbabwe and what they went through. Imagine if I invested in the Zimbabwean government's securities, and then look at what happened to Zimbabwe, and look where their dollar went. It went south really, really fast and disastrously. Now, if I had investment in that government bond, then I would have lost. So it doesn't mean because you invest in government papers, I hear a lot of people make the mistake, it's safe, nothing can go wrong. Yes, things can go wrong. Things can happen. Look at what's going on in Ukraine right now. What if I had government bonds invested in Ukraine? And this is the point I'm trying to make. There's a war going on there, so that would have affected my investment in some way. So this is the things I'm trying to talk about. So it's not that things can't go wrong. It's just that the chances of it going wrong is not as high as if you invest your money into more riskier products, especially if they're unregulated products like mini bonds and so on. You want to stay away from those because they promise high returns, get rich quick kind of situation, but the risk is very high. And there's disclosure. Was a disclosure made to him when he did his initial investment that the chances of you losing your money is high, medium, or low? Do you understand the risks? Are you happy with it? Did they give him a full fact find, is what we call in the business. Like when I sit down with a client, we do a full fact find, which can take up to an hour and a half. And if a client is not willing to sit down for an hour and a half on average and have that discussion with me, well, I can't do business for him, because I'm going to go through all the regulatory framework. I'm going to get the soft and hard facts on what he wants to do with the money. What other personal plans do you have in the future? Are you going to get married? How many kids do you want to have? Are you planning to buy a yacht or private jet? How long do you looking to retire? What age do you want to retire at? Blah, blah, blah. All this information you have to extract out of the client. Then you will know the type of investment to put. What's his risk analysis? If this was to be this situation, how would it affect you financially? You'd get all their figures and all their money coming in and money going out, and you can do all the calculations, and you can say, okay, this is the right investment for this person. You go through it with them line by line by line, and they sign off on everything and say, yes, I'm comfortable with the risk, I'm comfortable with the returns, I'm comfortable with in the way in which this whole fund is going to operate, how much you're allowed to pull out. If you pull out any before maturity, is there any penalty? Because a lot of them do have penalties if you pull money out before the maturity. Some do allow you to pull money out, but up to a certain amount, blah blah blah. There's different nuances and rules for different types of assets. It can get really complicated. So I'm assuming that all this was sat down and discussed with Usain before he signed on the dotted line. And even up to disclosure, by the way, if the company goes south, which is SSL, you get nothing. if the companies or the funds we invested your money in go south, you get nothing. And then if his risk analysis says, well, I am not prepared to lose all my money, I might prepare to stomach 500,000, but anything over 500,000 is devastating for me. Then you know that either you don't have a product that's suitable for that client, or you have to find a product that is, so to speak. And if you don't try and lie and promise things that you can't deliver on. You just say, I'm sorry, you need to go elsewhere because we can't help you here. There's times when I've seen clients and the amount of ridiculous things they want, I say, I'm sorry, we don't have a product that suits your need. And that's regulatory framework as well, because we have to treat the customer fairly. We have to say to the customer, not all money is good money, and not all business is legitimate business in terms of what you're doing. If you know genuinely you can't provide a service and a return on a customer's money or a client's money, you have to turn them away. If they insist, because you have some customers who are what they call insistent customers, even when you explain all the laws, regulatory rules, and the do's and don'ts, and disclose all the pros and cons and the likelihood of them losing their money and the performance and everything, they still insist that they want to do it. I still want to do it. I'll say, fine, here's another form, sign this document that says I've explained everything to you, and you insistent that you still want to go ahead. So now if it goes wrong, it's on you. So you not only protect yourself, you protect the company. So that person, if it goes wrong, you can say, well, here is a document, because that's what the regulators are going to look at. Did you give them the best suitable product? And if you did, why did you give them this product? Because when you look at their profile and everything that's in the notes and on the computer, everything that's in their file suggests that this is not the product that you should have advised them or suggested to them. But why did you go ahead with it anyway? You insisted, really? You can say, well, I didn't insist. If I knew, I wouldn't have done it, and now I'm going to sue you and blah blah blah. But if you can say, hang on, hold on a minute, as the advisor, if you can say, hold on a minute, here's my insistent letter that proves that I've explained this to him. He's read the document and he signed it to say, even with all the risk and with all the situation, he insists he still wants to go ahead. Bam. There's his signature. There's the date. Then that covers you. I don't know if they're even doing that type of stuff within the regulator. Do they even have that? I doubt if they even have that, because they don't even have a financial compensation scheme set up. So I would assume that they don't even have that in way SSL and all these other banks do business. Do they have that insistent letter? I'm assuming they'll do, because that's basics. That's just basics 1, 2, 3, to be honest. And that's what I mean when I say, it's a very convoluted stuff, and I could go on for hours, and I don't want to do, because I'm very aware of how long I'm talking. Until next time, keep it locked, stay cool.